Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Love and Life, the channel for sharing knowledge on holistic self-development through great books. Have you ever experienced this? When someone criticizes or accuses you, the more you explain, the more others think you are just making excuses. When you hear a dissenting opinion, you try to prove you're not wrong, but you're seen as unreasonable. And the result is always the opposite of what you intended. The original goal was to help others understand, but in the constant arguments and defenses, we diminish our own credibility. We exhaust ourselves mentally, but still can't escape the other person's suspicion or criticism. This leads from resentment to arguments, and finally, because of the conflict, our relationships develop cracks that cannot be mended. In psychology, this is called the trap of self-proof. That is, the more you prove and explain, I am right, I am reasonable, I am innocent, the more others will think you are wrong, unreasonable, and guilty. Over 100 years ago, the king of the short story, Guy de Maupassant, spoke clearly about the harm of falling into this paradox of self-proof through his short story, A Piece of String. Maupassant said that the misunderstanding of others is like a rope binding you. The more you care, the more you defend yourself, the tighter the rope pulls, causing you to slowly suffocate in self-doubt and exhaustion. Today, Love and Life would like to share with you a content titled, Don't Try to Explain Yourself, through the short story A Piece of String by Guy de Maupassant, to help us reflect on whether we are falling into this trap of self-proof and how to make a wiser choice in how we treat ourselves and others. Now, please listen. Are you tying the rope around yourself? The character, Maître Hochecorne, was a peasant who had lived his whole life thriftily. He couldn't bear to throw anything away. Clothes and shoes, no matter how old and torn, were all mended one day. On the way to the market town, he saw a small piece of string. As someone used to a life of poverty, he immediately thought of the many uses this string could have when he needed it. So he quickly bent down to pick it up and carefully rolled it. As he held the string, admiring it, he accidentally met the eyes of Maître Malandin, a man with whom he had long been in conflict over the sale of livestock. Not wanting his enemy to see him being so frugal as to pick up a small string, he immediately hid it in his smock and then pretended to look for something else on the road. After that, he walked toward the inn, his head held high, but his back slightly bent in shame. After wandering the market for a while, he went to an eatery to rest. Everyone was discussing how someone had lost their wallet. But as he was listening intently, 2 police officers suddenly arrived and took him to the police station for questioning. It turned out his enemy had reported him, claiming he was the one who had found the wallet. He cried out, protesting his innocence, frightened, and took out the piece of string to defend himself, demanding the police search him. The police found nothing and temporarily released him, telling him to wait for a summons. But as soon as he stepped out of the police station, curious people surrounded him, asking for details. He had to take out the string again, explain clearly, and turn his pockets inside out to prove there was nothing inside. Everyone who heard it just laughed. No one believed what he said. He was so angry, he led people to the place where he found the string and reenacted the whole story. However, people just shook their heads and mocked him. "Stop pretending, you old rascal." Not knowing what to do, he went around the town, explaining his story to every person he met. He talked from morning till night, exhausted, but still could not wash away the suspicion. Just as he was collapsing, news spread through the town. A farmhand had confessed to the police that he was the one who found the wallet and had already returned it to its owner. After hearing the news, Haushakorn felt liberated. He joyfully ran out of his house, proclaiming his innocence to everyone. But unexpectedly, the rumors outside became even more absurd. Some guessed he was the mastermind who had paid the farmhand to take the fall for him. Others suspected he and the farmhand were accomplices who only returned the money when the situation was exposed. The gossip made him suffocate. He couldn't eat or sleep, to the point where he no longer had the mind to continue farming. From then on, he spent his days wandering the village, telling everyone about his grievance, but people just laughed, pointed at him, and whispered to others, "It's a tall tale," and "He's just making excuses." Like a deflated ball, the peasant withered under the torment of the rumors. His spirit collapsed, his body weakened, and he finally died in depression. Why did the old man try so hard to explain? You'll see from the beginning, because the peasant hastily hid the string when he was spotted and felt ashamed of it, to the days of trying to explain after being misunderstood. All of this behavior stemmed from a deep-seated fear in his heart. He did not want others to judge him as poor. Like the old man, in life, we often encounter moments of being misunderstood or accused. Instinctively, most people immediately want to explain or clarify. You even fear being misunderstood. So you strive to please others, trying every way to make them have a good impression of you. In reality, every time you rush to defend and prove yourself, that reaction shows one thing. You are trying to protect your own large ego, and you are also trying to cover up some weak, insecure side deep within you. Because of this, you cannot agree with the other person's opinion, because accepting it makes you feel your ego is threatened. So you must fight back and immediately express your own thoughts, as if life is only complete when validated by others. But as the author of Conversations with God said so correctly, as long as you are worried about what others will think of you, they can make you their slave. Before the accusation, all your reactions will be futile. Your explanation will be seen as an excuse. The more you try to defend yourself, the more ridiculous others will find it. The piece of string the old man took out is the symbol the author used to represent the truth we are always trying to protect. But in others' eyes, it's just nonsense. The more you cling to it, the string invisibly wraps around your neck. And when you are being strangled by a rope, the more you struggle to get free, the tighter the rope pulls, leading to suffocation. The best way at this moment is to stop struggling. The answer is, be still. We often think silence is weakness, that it's accepting others' views and judgments. But that's not true. Silence is the strongest form of rebuttal. Only those with a strong inner self can maintain a state of calm when faced with any reaction from the outside. But what kind of stillness brings inner strength, rather than showing avoidance and running away from the problem? Stillness is, when misunderstood, there is no need to defend. There's a story. At an art exhibition in England, an artist held water in his mouth and sprayed it evenly onto the paper. As he was finishing a peony painting, a person saw this and loudly mocked, "Spraying water from your mouth and calling it art? How ridiculous!" At this, all eyes turned to the artist, but he just smiled, said nothing, and continued to work on the painting. Afterward, someone asked him, "That was clearly an ink wash technique. You just needed to say a few words to shut them up immediately. Why didn't you explain?" The artist replied, "If that person truly cared about art, they wouldn't need an explanation. They would understand. But if they don't truly care, no amount of explaining will make them understand." Everyone's perception is different. We cannot avoid misunderstandings and disagreements. Someone who understands you will get your meaning without many words. But for someone who doesn't understand you, no matter what you say, it will only cause more conflict. Conan Doyle once said, "The only way to win an argument is to avoid it." Remember, many times in life, constantly explaining who you are is useless, because some people only want to hear what they want to hear and see what they want to see. A person with a strong inner self doesn't need to argue about who is right or wrong with others. It's like this. You stand on a mountaintop. Your eyes see the vast, expansive sea. But a person halfway up the mountain can only see a desolate landscape. Everyone has a different level of awareness, way of thinking, even vision and stature. So their perspective on a problem will certainly be different. Sometimes, not arguing, not refuting, is the highest respect for yourself and for them. When you remain silent, it can help both to calm the atmosphere and to avoid causing more trouble for yourself. Usually, only a weak ego always lives in the eyes and opinions of others and always wants to prove itself. Truly strong people don't need to serve an external evaluation system. They just need to focus on doing their own thing well. Stillness is, when facing doubt, not boiling with self-doubt. Besides refuting others, many people in life tie the rope around themselves by refuting themselves. When doubted, they immediately blame themselves first. For example, just a small mistake at work, and they feel guilty and devastated. A small, unhappy thing in the family, and they blame themselves for not caring enough for their loved ones. Noticing their partner is disappointed, they constantly think they are weak, incapable of giving that person a better life. In the book Toad, Nyai Kak Ji Gap Bak Sitam Li, it says, "There is no criticism more powerful than self-criticism, and no judge stricter than ourselves. Stop self-criticizing, accept your strengths and weaknesses." Pull yourself out of the swamp of self-doubt. When you no longer doubt yourself, no definition or conclusion from others can hurt you. Stillness is, when falling into hardship, not complaining about it. When misunderstood, many people love to go around complaining and vindicating themselves, hoping someone will understand and comfort them. There's a saying, never complain to anyone. 80% don't care, and the other 20% see it as entertainment. I often hear not a few people say, "Oh, I'm terrified of person ABC calling to vent." Every time they tell their story, it takes hours, just crying. If you are that person ABC, when you hear that comment, would you want to find that person to complain to? Maybe many people will think, whoever said that is a terrible friend, unwilling to share, and then comments behind my back? Next time I won't tell them, I'll find someone else. But do you know if that someone else doesn't think the same? No matter who it is, maybe the first few times they are willing to listen. But after that, if you keep complaining, will they get annoyed and avoid you? When I made a short video titled "Never Complain to Others," some friends commented and disagreed, saying, "That's extreme. Sometimes we need to find a close friend to confide in. That's better." Many people think a good friend is one who is willing to listen to us vent, and they see complaining and confiding as two different things. But do you notice? The con in confiding, tamsu, means to tell a story, and fighting, tam, refers to secret matters of the heart. If your heart is full of suffering, keecho, you have turned confiding into complaining, keko. I know everyone faces difficulties sometimes, but our inner pain is usually not important to others, and no one likes to listen to and receive negative energy forever. Usually in life, if you complain, "I'm being bullied by a colleague," someone will surely think, "What did you do to make them hate you?" You tell someone you're being treated badly by your husband and want a divorce, and someone will assume, "You must have been a certain way for your husband to act like that." This doesn't mean others are malicious, but because humans are inferential animals, we always think, where there's smoke, there's fire. No one can experience your life, so others' opinions will be subjective, and they can turn around and hurt you even more deeply. Therefore, don't complain about your ups and downs. Silently forge for yourself a state of calm in the face of all difficulties. Read more books to enrich your mind and inner self. When you are strong, naturally you will not fear any suffering, but can accept it with an equanimous mind. And certainly, no injustice can become a rope to bind you. Stillness is, when faced with criticism, not getting upset. The next rope you don't want to throw away is the judgment and criticism of others. In life, we often meet people who behave strangely. They are good at putting you down, trying to pull you into a spiral of negative emotions. You reason with them. You present the truth. They act as if they don't see it. There are also people who love to give advice to others based on their own subjective judgments. When you like to read books, there's always someone who mocks you as a pseudo-intellectual. When you exercise, someone will say, "You must be really idle to have time for sports." Even when you want to study for exams or study abroad, there's always someone who advises, "Why study so much? What's the point? It's better to go out, get a job, or start a business and make money." Faced with people like this, it's very hard to explain to them the joy of learning, the benefits of exercise, or the satisfaction and fulfillment of self-improvement, because they have never experienced it and aren't ready to want to experience it. No matter how rich your language is, they won't understand. The more you explain, the more it shows your own lack of validation and self-confidence. When faced with judgment or criticism, Many people often feel resentful and upset. Some try to change themselves to fit others' opinions. If you feel resentful, you might fall into the cycle of complaining or develop depression. If you chase social validation to change yourself, in the end, you will always be the loser, wasting both time and spirit. And then there are those who, upon hearing criticism, immediately argue back or attack the other person's weaknesses. When you argue, there will usually only be two results. One, the other person will retaliate, causing conflict and hatred. Or two, you will be dragged down to their miserable fate, tying the rope tightly around yourself. In reality, we don't need to expect to agree with and please everyone. One writer expressed this viewpoint when maliciously insulted by a colleague. "He insults me every day, which proves his life can't be without me. I don't care. Which proves my life can be without him." Talk to people who understand you. Share your life views with people who get you. Don't waste your words on people whose energy frequency is out of sync with yours. You simply cannot wake up a person who doesn't want to be woken. Let them wake up on their own path. Letting go of your sensitivity and weakness when you hear sharp language from others, being silent and turning away, refusing to be hurt by them, is the smartest choice. In reality, the rope that the author Maupassant tells us about is everywhere. It is the baseless rumors, the harsh criticisms, and the unreasonable accusations in daily life. If you let these ropes bind you, they will tighten, suffocating you, leading to collapse and self-destruction. Most of the pain in life comes from caring too much about others' opinions and always wanting to prove a large, perfect ego to the outside world. The writer San Mao said, "Your explanations about me do not represent 1/10,000th of myself, but they entirely represent the person you are." Judgments and criticisms of others are just one-sided views. They cannot affect your life, nor can they define your character. Master yourself. You don't need to pay attention to the outside noise, nor do you need to try to force anyone to recognize us. Before all misunderstandings, scolding, and absurdity, silence is the most powerful response. For you and for me, I hope this stillness creates a powerful inner self for you. Let yourself know that it is time to remove these invisible ropes. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Give me a like, press the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to catch the newest videos every week. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next videos.